Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Pick a chair, any chair.
Is this one all right?
Yeah, this
Hi.
one's perfect.
Okay. Hi,
I had
guys.
technically already decided by putting my iPad down, but I was going to move it for you if
You were?
wanted to. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
do you know what? It feels like almost like this is kind of a big room. It almost feels like I don't need the mic.
Yeah.
But do you know what? No, let's keep the mic. Let's keep the mic. Psych.
Welcome to Richmond.
Thank you.
This is not your first time in Richmond.
It is my first time in Richmond ever.
It
yeah.
actually is?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
thanks.
Thank you for being here. It's a very lovely city. We have a lot of conventions here.
Have you been here a bunch?
Yes.
Okay.
We have GalaxyCon here as well. We have regular Animate previously, and we've had just Nightmare Weekends alone. Is it anybody's first GalaxyCon or Animate or Nightmare Weekend? Has anybody been here before for these? Make some noise. There we go. Yeah. So we do host here a lot.
Anyone had a nightmare in this city before? I mean, Nightmare Con. It's the first Nightmare Con in this city.
It's the third.
But is there kind of like nightmares that go on? Is there like, I see a Ghostbuster? Is there anything strange in the neighborhood?
Yeah, is Richmond known to be haunted?
Yeah, is there any kind of... It is?
Really?
I want to hear those stories.
Wait, yeah, tell us, how is Richmond haunted?
Ah.
This is the fourth Nightmare Weekend.
Ah, okay.
Oh, it was the first Nightmare Weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yes, this is where it was held.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Well, if there are no spooky stories, then we'll have to create some.
Wait, so the university is haunted? Is that what you said? Houses around the... But y'all don't have a specific ghost story here. No. Vampires of Richmond?
The Vampires of Richmond,
sounds
Virginia.
like a really cool song.
It does. And like, it's interesting because, do you know when you talk about these things, sometimes like little seeds get planted in your head, and then years later you're working on what about the Vampire of Richmond?
Yeah, have you heard of the
Like something
Vampire
might
of
come out
Richmond?
later, yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah. Usually with vampires, they don't want you to know that they're here, so it's just
that's
the
the
vampires
point.
in Richmond are very successful.
They're great. They hide well. They hide themselves in the shadows. But they're also like indoctrinated into the community. I feel like here in Richmond that the community really take care of the vampires. They don't allow anyone to go in with stakes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry.
They're very protected.
Yeah, they're protected.
Yes.
But that's also a story within itself, right? And I think what I'm coming to here is about stories and what we do, for what I do for a living. And we tell stories. And there's something wonderful about that.
What are your favorite haunted cities that you've been to? I know we've talked about you going to New Orleans before.
Yeah. The New Orleans, for those of you who don't know, there was one episode of my show Constantine that was set in New Orleans, and when we were shooting that episode, we had a new producer come on, and it was the first time in months and months and months where I actually had an early finish on a Friday, and I had the whole weekend off. Normally in the TV industry, you have something called a Friday, or I call it a fuck you Friday, because what happens is they start you 4 a.m. on a Monday, and then midweek you go into day work, and then by the end of the week you're in night work. So you finish 4 a.m. on a Saturday. So you've got no time for nothing. So this is one rare occasion where I was finished by 2, and I was like, oh my God, a friend of mine was like, come meet me in New Orleans. And we were shooting in Atlanta. So I said to the producers, I was like, hey, look, I'm going to New Orleans for the weekend, so see ya. And they were like, oh, actually, we're going to send a skeleton crew with you to shoot with you. And I was like, it's supposed to be my...
Nice work.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, pay for my hotel room. So they paid for my hotel, so I hustled. And then in that episode, I can't remember what episode it is, but what's funny is there's these shots of me on Bourbon Street, and they're real, So there was a skeleton crew, and my girlfriend at the time was with me, and she was running in to get shots, and I was buying the crew loads of shots and stuff, and they were shooting. I was like, listen, this is the way it's gonna go, yeah?
Everything's in Dutch angle.
Yeah, everything's Dutch angle. I'm
a
standing
little
there in the
tipsy.
trench coat, you know, against a lamppost in New Orleans. People coming up to me, hey ho, who you think you are, Constantine? You know, like, and I was like, oh, I'm not fine. And then there's a big shot of me walking down the street, and all that was actually shot in New Orleans because they came with me on my 3-day holiday, which I thought was really cool. But then what happened to me in New Orleans is because playing my character in a place where voodoo is kind of, on every street corner, like I had people like invited me to places which you shouldn't be invited to.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's kind of exciting.
It is. Like I ended up like in some places. I've been to New Orleans, I think 13, 14 times now.
Fair.
And it's like
Second home.
Yeah, well, I won't say that, but it's definitely it's drawn me there over the years. I also did another movie called Flypaper years and years ago, and we shot that in Baton Rouge. And we would go to New Orleans on the weekends, and some of the crew wouldn't come back, and I was like, where are they? They're like, they're still in New Orleans.
The vampires of New Orleans got them.
Yeah. So I have this in terms of cities that have some kind of juju about them or something. New Orleans is definitely one, but I come from Wales, and Wales is a renownedly mythical place. Like J.R.R. Tolkien based a lot of the Elven language off the Welsh language. And there's all these wonderful myths from Wales. And where I'm from is right there, stories of dragons and captains and pirates and mythical elves and creatures and fairies and all of these wonderful things. So I grew up around this kind of mythical, with this mythical kind of almost supernatural, other realm kind of sensibility. So coming to Constantine then was like, oh, we're just talking about that stuff, Yeah.
Just a different flavor.
Yeah, exactly,
that's very cool. Were you drawn to it as a child, or was it something that you were just not interested in until you became an adult and an actor? Or?
No, I think I was more drawn to it as a child. I think we all are, right? It's like we're so sensitive because we're so in tune with our senses, and those senses get conditioned and put into preconceived ideas cognitively. But when we're younger, we're open to it, and we used to go for walks down the beach. The funny thing is people go to the beach, in the sun. Like my parents used to take me and my brother on 7-mile walks in the rain.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Pneumonia.
like over the bluffs of the cliffs, through the old castles, down the old mines, out to the sea.
Yeah.
All these places which are full of all this energy from all of the sailors that crashed on the shores and all of the smugglers that used to run all the smuggling, and so I was always kind of really into that kind of stuff and loved it, and and now when I go back to Wales, I've got an old 1978 Ford Econoline 250 American camper van in Wales.
Oh, you shipped it over.
It's original. No, I found it there. I was so lucky. I found it there, and it's got all the original shag pile carpet and like pearlescent, and it's like, purple windows and stuff. And I fell in love with this van. I was just like, wow. My mum was like, it looks like a kid he snatches a van. I was like, don't tell me that, because like I love it so much.
Give her a paint job.
Yeah. But I take my van, and the last time I was back, because I've been traveling a lot, I said to my mate, I was like, listen, man, I'm just gonna do one night. Where I come from, there's this place called the Gower. It's the Gower Peninsula. It's this little peninsula in Wales, and you look at the beaches on this place, and it is prehistoric. It is beautiful. It's like, I've been traveling so much, I need to get away from the world. I'm just gonna take the van for one night. And he was like, and I love my mate back there, he's like, I'm in. Straight away, no question, I'm in. So me, him, and my older brother went down, and it's pissing down with rain, and we climb up to the top of these dunes, and there's a big storm rolling in, and we've got all of our like wet weather gear on, do you know what I mean? Fighting the wind, and I was exhausted afterwards, but there was a certain spiritual recharge that I got from kind of taking that time there. you know. So I think it's always important to kind of listen to yourself, to go to places in nature to kind of get a little fix of nature.
You also in Wales have a lot more, we have a lot of history here in the States, but not comparatively to the UK and everything, Europe in general. I think it's just very cool that you can just go and be like, there's so much history here, you know? Whereas here, where I'm from or where it's like the history started 200 years ago. There are shoes and museums in Europe that are older than our country. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's very neat. Does it rain a lot in Wales?
It does,
It's
yeah.
the majority.
It rains a lot, you know. And a lot of the time it doesn't rain. It's just the dew, just a mist. You know, there's one of my favorite poets is Dylan Thomas, and he's from Swansea, where I'm from. And he has this great line in a radio play that he wrote called Under Milk Wood, where he says, "From where you are, you can hear their dreams. From where you are, you can hear the dew falling." And that's Wales to me. Do you know what I mean? Because like you're just like, it's just a bit damp. Like, oh, you know, do you know what I mean? Like,
a little
oh,
soggy.
spritz, you know, like
You'll never
you're generally
have dry
like,
skin.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think a fun fact too about you being from there is with your character in Assassin's Creed, they weren't originally from Wales,
No,
right? When you
that's-
auditioned,
that's
if I
right.
remember correctly.
Yeah. So what's crazy, right, is I auditioned for Black Flag, and first of all, they didn't tell me that it was for a video game. They told me it was for a pirate TV show, and I was like, "Whoa, yeah!" And I had long hair at the time as well. Do you know what I mean? I was like, "Oh, I'm a pirate."
I'm ready to sail the
do you know what I
seven
mean?
seas.
Like, you're just like, man, yeah, let me at it, you know, let me go. And so I did the first audition. The guy was from the north of England, which is kind of like where, if you go, like Sean Bean. You know the actor Sean Bean? Like, all right, up north, or I'm up there, over north, up there. So he spoke very like, all right, how you doing?
You're doing that so well. You actually are.
But so he's from there. So I do the whole audition process. I get the job. And then, you know, Assassin's Creed Black Flag was one of the first games which started to use the motion capture technology.
So cool.
And so I fly over to Montreal and I meet the crew, I meet the writer, Darby McGivitt, who's this amazing writer, and I meet everyone and they're like, wow, you sound different. You sound different from the audition. I was like, well, yeah, you know, the character's from Yorkshire. Yeah. Like, I'm from Wales. Very different. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they all go away and they're all talking. I'm like, oh, God, am I going to get fired? Something going to happen? Oh, God. Do you know what I mean? Your
The
brain.
actor fear.
Yeah, the actor fear all the time. And, you know, have they found me out? You know, it's always there.
I'm not what they're looking for.
Yeah. And then they came back to, where you're from, is it on the sea? And I was like, well, yeah, you know, I'm from a place called Swansea in Wales, and that's actually an old port that they would use, you know, like, they still do. And they were like, okay, great, well, we're going to make the character from there. And I was like, nobody knows where Swansea is.
That's so cool.
I
Let
was
me
like,
put it on the map.
That is so cool. I was like, really? But then I had to make the adjustment because the character, I'd found the character through the voice. All right, mate, yeah, no problem. You know, I'm Edward Kenway, you know. And then I was like, oh, well, what's it like in my own accent? I don't know. I haven't worked on it. So I had to move fast to kind of like, you know, find him through my own voice. But I really feel grateful to them, to the writer, to the producers, that they made that character where I'm from, you know. There's a famous actor, Michael Sheen, who some of you might know. He's from a place called Port Talbot, which is just a city next to Swansea. That's where Anthony Hopkins and Richard Burton and a bunch of other famous Welsh people come from. But Swansea, nobody really knows Swansea. Catherine Zeta-Jones comes from Swansea. It's kind of Catherine Zeta-Jones, really. So I was really like kind of honored to kind of put, you know, Swansea on the map through Edward Kenway, and that's been a wonderful thing. Thank you for recognizing that. That's cool.
Of course, yeah, no. It is a really cool fact because usually when you go into, I mean, Assassin's Creed's not a small game. it's many layers of people deciding the storyline and character development. So the fact that they met you and decided to change it, I would assume a very big plot point.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
And also, what's funny, there's a parallel in the story of Edward. So Edward comes from Swansea, where I am, but then he left Swansea to go to Bristol. And that's where he met his love, Caroline, and that's where he got the ambition to go off where he does. Well, I left Swansea when I was 19, and I moved to Bristol to go to drama school. And like they know this, like however but all right, Bristol is also was one of the, if you look at it in that time, it was one of the major ports and trading points. But it's funny because you're like, wow, it's interesting how that parallels my life, and you kind of look back now. I think the game was released in 2013 or something, or maybe even before that, and it's lovely to see that that where I come from was represented in that game. The game itself, I think, is, I would say, because I'm biased, probably one of the best Assassin's Creed games for 3 reasons, right? Gameplay, setting, and character development. Those are the 3 things that I think that make it stand out from the other games that I've played, because I'm a gamer and I play them. But they really did a great job on it.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned that you had to refine the character. Do you think, did it make you, was his character already defined in the script as his different characteristics, or were you able to change them a little bit?
Good question. No, he was already there on the page, but my access to him had to change because I had accessed him through the accent that I was playing, and then I was like, when I was speaking in my own voice, it's like, oh, and also it's a funny thing because I've played a lot of characters that aren't in my own voice. Or when I went to drama school, it's funny, I'm a Welshman going to an English drama school, and there's a hierarchical structure in the UK. And I remember I was playing a character called Barone in a play called Love's Labour's Lost, a Shakespeare play. I didn't know shit about Shakespeare. I didn't go to school, do you know what I mean? I was a dropout at school. And then I'm playing this lead role, and all these people are, using these fancy words to describe the character, and I'm writing them down, and then I'm going home and I'm looking through a thesaurus to try to figure out what they're saying without even what Shakespeare's saying. So I was really behind the curve, And I'm playing this role, and he's English. So I say to the voice and the dialect teacher, I say, do you think that, I should practice speaking in an English accent the whole time to get used to it? And she said, well, darling, why else did you come to an English drama school but to lose your Welsh accent?
No.
Yeah. And you know what? My tail went up like a freaking scorpion. I was like, shh. It's like, nah, I want to learn an accent. I don't want to lose mine. I'm an actor. Yeah. I want to be able to play something, right? And what I'm asking you is about an exercise. Would me doing this as an exercise be better for me to get a hold of the accent and the cadence of the character and all of those things? But I'm not. But
you made it xenophobic.
But you just said lose your accent, don't be Welsh, and it really hit me here. But it also got my tail up something, and I was like, do you know what? Well, Anthony Hopkins, he does an American accent. He's still got a Welsh accent. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I started get a little bit angry about it because I was like, well, and then a year and a half later, the movie Notting Hill came out with Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts and the lovely Rhys Ifans, who's Welsh. And after that movie came out, she came up to me and said, well, darling, Welsh is popular now. You don't need to lose it. I was like, it was my first introduction to the fickleness of this business. Yes. It was like, okay, if this is how it's going to go, I got to stick true to my guy. I have a tattoo that tells me that, yeah.
I feel like English posh accents are very easier to grasp for a lot of people, but Welsh accents are not.
Very difficult, yeah.
It's great, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people, when they do a Welsh accent, they sound as if they're from Pakistan. So what's interesting is my aunt, my aunt in America, she's adopted, and she's Indian. She's very dark Indian. And she speaks with a proper Welsh accent, but she still sounds Indian.
A little bit of mix.
Yeah, and when people try to do a Welsh accent, they get mixed up with Pakistan and India, and like it can go, even if you just imagine that I'm from there now, with the way that I'm speaking, you could probably pick it out a little bit.
That makes sense.
Because the ear adjusts, Yeah.
Yeah, very fair. Well, everyone, please, if you have your own questions, please do not be shy. Matt is obviously very kind. Go ahead and line up at this microphone. Don't be shy. I will not force you, though. I will talk to him the whole time.
Yeah,
Don't worry. You have something this weekend called Cocktails and Constantine
I
that
do,
I
yeah.
always have never been able
You've
to
never
go
been?
to. It's because I have an event
Oh,
I have the cosplay competition
Which is fair
during Cocktails and Constantine, but I always hear it because it's a party.
Yeah.
And I am jealous that I'm not there. Yeah.
Now, it's really good fun. I think what it is, when you do these things, right, you meet people at the table. You guys know, right? Like, yeah, you meet people at the table, and it's nice to speak to people, but then sometimes there's a line you're moving. It's an opportunity to sit down with people, have a couple of drinks, and just like almost like be in a bar, in a pub, and just shoot the shit. Do you know what I mean? And I always ask people to turn their phones off, just because you don't want to say I don't want anybody to be recording things that I shouldn't be saying, on camera and stuff. But it's always really fun, and if any of you guys are around after hours tomorrow, then come along.
Yeah. It's not normal that there's like such an intimate setting.
No,
I think. And it's very fun. I've had friends that have gone and they were like, that was the best thing that I've done all weekend. That was so fun.
That's cool. Well, that's what it's about for me, right? Is like, I think that the people who have come before, like, they'll recognize like what I'm about is that. It's about kind of just trying to share, trying to be open and honest. There's always a barrier between people, between artists and the audience, and it's nice to kind of break that down a little bit and just kind of be human beings in the space, and anyone can ask what they want, and just get to hang out and get to know people a little bit, and that's generally how I approach it.
Yeah. And that's tomorrow, right?
That's tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So if anybody is interested, please look at your program guides. It is a good time. I'm jealous that I won't be there. But hi, it looks like we have a question. Hi there. Go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Derek,
Hi, Derek.
and I'm a fan of mostly Constantine. I was wondering, in the CW franchise, let's see, do you want to want Constantine to interact with Lucifer more? Because I have a feeling those two would definitely hit it off.
Yeah, I must say that one of my most favorite times of playing Constantine on the CW, on Legends of Tomorrow. First of all, I'd like to say Stephen Amell, Mark Guggenheim, Phil Klemmer, those guys brought me in from the dark. A guy called Mark Pedowitz, actually, who was the head of the CW. They wanted the show Constantine on the CW. And there was one guy called I don't mind saying his name now, but his name is Les Moonves. He was the head of CBS. I actually met him years ago when I played, when I came to LA and I did Criminal Minds. But he then got, fairly or unfairly, I don't know, but he got released from his job for something that went on there. But apparently what happened was they sold the studio. All of the studios wanted the show to be part of the CW, and this one guy was in a bad mood and just said no. And it was really disappointing. But then they worked hard to get me as a character into Arrow, and therefore, onto Legends and so on. And then I ended up playing the character for 10 years. Normally for a television show that gets cancelled after 13 episodes, you don't normally play the character for 10 years, and especially in different mediums. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've done 5 standalone Constantine movies and then a bunch of the other ones. So that's wonderful. But to answer your question, I feel like there was a moment I was sitting backstage when on the set in Vancouver, Mark Guggenheim, who's the creator of all of the Arrowverse and a wonderful human being and a wonderful friend, came up and just said, read this. And I sat down, and as soon as I saw him, I went, oh, you and he went, we got him. And they got Tom to be Lucifer on the crossover. Now, here's the thing is, me and Tom have crossed paths for years. We have so many multiple friends, you know? And also Tom's Welsh. He speaks with this different accent because he was grew up in a different place, but his heritage is Welsh. And when we got on set, first, the funniest thing for me, I've got a picture on my phone, which is that our trailers, you know, our trailers next together, and it was Constantine and Lucifer. And I was like, yo, you know? And we had such a good time shooting that. But it was very easy because Tom is not only just a wonderful actor and a wonderful human being, but it was very easy for us to bounce with each other. So, you know, I came up with just said, you know, the line was, nice to see you, Lucifer. And I was like, oh, all right, Lucy, how you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, just jamming out. And then he's like, Constantine. I'm like, that's teen. And the writer's like, what's happening? What's happening? And they were really up for it, you know, and it was a wonderful thing. I think that it would have been great if we could have done something more with those characters. But, you know, we're not in control of these things as artists. We can only be in control of what we do with the things. Not how it happens. Sometimes you are, and you fight for those things, but mostly you have to be in control of what you can control. What you do the best job with what you've got. You know. But, yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Hi there.
Hey.
Oh yeah, hey there. My name is Michael, and I had a question about the fact of, out of all the main characters of the Assassin's Creed series, which one would you say was the best one? The one you play for Black Flag, or one of the ones from the older or newer games?
Well, obviously I'm biased, right? Because I play Edward Kenway. The one thing I love about the character is he's a rogue, he's a peasant, he's a scoundrel. He starts off, you know, wanting to better himself. A little bit like me growing up in Wales, you know, saying like, oh, I want to. And then he moves to Bristol, and you know he falls in love, and he wants to do. You know, he marries this girl who's, you know, part of a richer family than him, and he wants to do good by her. So, you know, he's chasing the goal, the dream, for a good reason, but he's also willing to do anything to get it. A little bit like John Constantine, and then your morals get crossed. What I love about Assassin's Creed is it's a character that finds his moral compass during the game. Not only that, the gameplay, as I said, the ships. Sometimes, right, I go home and I'm like a little bit stressed out. I will load the game, I will jump on a ship, I'll go for a sail, and I'll listen to a sea shanty, and I'll sit back. And it's therapeutic. So I would always say Edward Kenway because I'm biased. But, you know, I actually played Assassin's Creed 1. You know, like, and 2, like, Ezio is...
Yeah, because Ezio was literally one of the best.
He's the OG.
Yeah.
He's the OG, right?
Without Ezio, there wouldn't be any further assassins.
Exactly, right? So like, as Kenway, I can say my experience to him, and in terms of the gameplay and all of those things, that I would choose him. But, you know, within that is the homage to Ezio and to where the game came from. And Kenway was never an Ezio. You know, Kenway became an Ezio, you know, in terms of his honor, in terms of his moral compass. But he didn't start out as that. So there would have never been it's all about...
He was learning as he went,
as
he was
he went,
trying to do everything he could to
that's
match
right.
his, like, the way he was doing things
and that's,
in his adventure the way he could. But even though he couldn't match everything, he was still doing it the best he could.
That's right. And that's what I love about my character, is he's always trying to do the best. And then he finds this creed where his morals can align. But here's the thing, is none of that for Kenway that exists anyway without Ezio. So he is the birthplace of it all, you know, like, and playing the first game, which I did. I remember riding around on the horse, and the graphics, you like go this way, and he goes all the way to the bush, and you know, like, but yeah, so I'm a fan of the earlier characters. I've played a bunch of the other ones. I like them. I haven't played Shadows yet. I've heard that's really good.
Yeah, the one with Yasuke and this other character as well. But I only mainly know about Yasuke because Yasuke was in a
I've not heard about the characters.
anime series that was his nationality technically sort of Japanese, but he was a samurai at the time.
Ah, okay. See, what I love about the Assassin's Creed franchise is that the way that the writers incorporate real history. Like, here's one thing about acting, right? For the two franchises that I'm here for, Constantine and Edward Kenway. So when I got Constantine, like, my work from by the time I got it to start shooting was to read all the comics. It's not a bad freaking job, right? When I got Assassin's Creed, from the time I was like, I have to play video games.
Right.
Right? I was like, this is the best job in the world. Please. You know? So I'm like, I feel really blessed. But then, you know, the work that goes into these is not just like, oh, you play a video game. I'm not saying that nonchalantly. Darby McGivitt, the script was this big, you know? I never got the whole script for Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It was too big. You know? It's so massive. And the amount of work that these programmers, the artists, the designers, the leaders, the writers put into it. Like, as an actor, when I come in, I'm doing, you know, the character, but none of it happens without them. It is all about the hard work and dedication that they put in. And they put that work in because they love what they do. And it comes back to another thing, is if you do what you love, then sometimes people love what you do. And that's the baseline level, really, for me, of trying to endeavor in a creative endeavor. But to answer your question, I would say I would pay homage to the 3 Assassin's Creed games that came before, but for me, it's Kenway all the way.
Understandable. He's definitely
it has to be, right? I cannot betray Kenway.
Awesome in general, anyways. No matter who you were playing as in general, because like all the different parkour stuff you had to do, kept the game really. Like,
but also as well, like here's the thing: is like, you know, if you look at Assassin's Creed 3, then that's my grandson. So
yeah.
Great question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Hi there.
Hey, how's it going? Name's Adam. Just curious, were you bummed you weren't able to interact with the Derek Mears Swamp Thing CW series?
Yeah, totally bummed. Totally bummed. We met each other this year at one of these nightmare events, and we were like, bro. He's not only is he a lovely guy, doesn't matter if you're a lovely guy, right? Actually, it does. But like, the thing is, his Swamp Thing was really good. It was really close to the bone. There was a producer on there called Mark Van Heiden. He was also one of the executive producers on Constantine with David S. Goya, right? David S. Goya is the one who did Batman Begins and Man of Steel. Like, you know, these are the best people in the business, you know, and they know their comic book shit. Like, and they were really, yeah. That Swamp Thing would have worked well with my Constantine, I think. I always wanted to do the dark, gritty HBO Max, fucking, you know, R-rated Constantine, where he's smoking. I'm not going to say the rest of the things.
No, fit would.
But I think we all understand. If you read the comics, then you know,
yeah.
right? Like all of the older comics, right? They're all so messy. The artwork is so kind of like scruffy and interesting, and the language is like poetry. It literally is like poetry. I always thought that the show should have a voiceover. You know, I never talked about this at the time because, you know, at the time you're thrown into something and you do it, and those guys were great. But you know, whatever, it should have a voiceover because he's in my head. You know, yeah.
Thank you.
We only have about 5 minutes left, so we're going to cut it to these last 2 questions.
Yeah. And I'll try to be faster because I talk a lot.
You're all right. No worries.
They call me Matt Talk a Lot.
I planned 2 just for 5 minutes, so don't feel pressured. Hi there.
How you doing? My name is Joe. We met a couple years ago at DragonCon, and I told you then, and it's even more poignant now. You are the Kevin Conroy of John Constantine. So having said that, if you were approached to do like a Justice League Dark, or if they do any more animated series, would you be up for doing them as John Constantine?
You know, the thing is all of these things are out of our control, right? As an actor. But you know, like the Keanu Reeves version is, I think, is a completely different interpretation to what I've done. And I love that movie. And I think they're doing a sequel. And I hope that they get to do that because I want to see that movie, right? I feel lucky enough to be to have been a part of bringing this character, for everybody who loved the comics, bringing this character to the screen for the 10 years that I've played him in whichever way I could have. Whatever decision is made afterwards is not in my hands. Would I like to play him? It had to be the right story. Like I'm not doing the cheesy version again. You know, like it has to be like, let's get dark and gritty about the shit. You know, like, but also. You know, I have no ownership over the guy. Wherever it goes, I'll be interested and supportive. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like I'm so lucky to have played the character for all this time and to bring him to people who might not have been introduced to him. And the most important thing that I'm proud of is the fact that those hardcore Hellblazer fans accepted me in the role, and that means the world to me because these characters are iconic and. I could have gone a very different way, but the reason I played the character for 10 years after having a 13-episode show is because of the fans. So my gratitude is with you guys for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Hi there.
I'm trying to think because I think some of the answers earlier might have answered this, but
okay.
It's kind of a case of with Constantine, it's based on the comic series, and with comics, anything and anything can happen. Everything and anything can happen. So if there was,
Yes.
okay,
So many different universes and
But
dimensions.
also ask you a question, but to answer yours as well, like if there was ever like a Keanu crossover or something like that, then yes, it's such a different show to what, such a different movie to what I was doing, right? I always had this thing was like, well, you know what? There's going to be like some crazy DC crossover in 20 years' time, and I'm going to turn up on a Zimmer frame, you know, gray angle. All right, mate. Can I finally fucking swear?
right.
On camera.
Not necessarily DC, but would you ever want to see if there were ever a crossover with Constantine and another series that focuses on paranormal?
Like a supernatural.
Like what?
Like Supernatural.
Yeah, well,
Something like that.
Well, look, when I was introduced into Legends of Tomorrow, the first scene of that, we never actually got to shoot it because we ran out of time. But it was me opening the trunk of the car that the boys used from Supernatural. Right? There was a whole tie-in that they were trying to work in there, and you know, what's his name who plays Castillo? Like, he's a wonderful guy, man. And like for all of these years, I've had people coming up to me asking me to sign his photographs and vice versa. So I'd write messages and saying, dude, you're not wearing the trench coat right, you know? And then like we met finally, I think it was like last year, the year before, and we were like, I feel like I know you, man. And he's the most wonderful guy. Misha, he's wonderful. And it's funny how we've shared this idea of something. And I think that the original plan was on that show to have the character John Constantine, but they weren't allowed for the licensing. So they created Castiel. But he's the most wonderful guy. And also those guys who did that show as well, I've met them. And they are the coolest guys. I got to say, there's two words in life you can get by with anything. That's grace and grit. And do you know what? Those boys, those three guys, they have it. They have it all. But yeah, sorry, I don't know if that answered your question, but
It kind of does, because crossover between Constantine and Supernatural. I would watch that.
it would have been. It would and also we were almost there, right? But by the time we got there, in a way, their show was going off the air, and then we weren't. For the last season of Constantine that I was in, that we were all in. Season 7, we weren't allowed to use the character. So the character, the rights had been taken by a producer who was going to reboot a show in the way that he felt right. But so we weren't allowed to use the character. So I thought my time on the show had come to an end. And then they were like, we love you, please stay. So like, how does that work? So then we created Dr. Gwyn. And I love that guy. I love that character. I love that character, playing that character so much. He's such the opposite to John Constantine, but such a wonderful character. And I give all credit to the showrunner, Phil Klemmer, and the writers and the producers, and Mark Pedwitz at the CW for like embracing the way that they did that show. And it's a real shame that network isn't under the isn't being run by those people right now. But
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us. It was
My
very
pleasure.
lovely. Can I get one more round of applause
Thank
for
you,
Matt
guys.
Ryan?
It's lovely talking to you all. It really is. It's lovely to see you all again, and lovely to meet you all. And if you're around tomorrow, come and have some drinks.
Guys,
And if you're not, then we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, come see him at his booth, and please, Cocktails and Constantine.
Yeah.
You'll be missing out if you don't go. Yes.